Hey guys, welcome back to the Replay Media. Today, we're not going to be as nice as usual, as we're going to talk about the most twisted stuff in cinema. Not all movies are made to be fun and family friendly. There are some that won't let you sleep, some that get under your skin and haunt you for quite a while. They go beyond horror. They explore the darkest corners of the soul to show how deep a human being can fall. Like Heath Ledger's Joker, some movies just want to watch the world burn, although they also have their artistic point. Without further ado, let's take a look at the 8 most disturbing movies of this century so far, according to the Replay Media. If you're sensitive, I recommend you look for another video. The Woman, 2011, directed by Lucky McKee. Some things can never be fixed. We begin with what appears to be a typical family drama in a typical neighborhood, but which hides a very dark secret. The Woman, written by the great horror screenwriter Jack Ketchum, presents us with the story of the last survivor of a clan of savage cannibals that had been terrorizing the northeast coast for decades. Alone, wounded, and vulnerable, fate makes her prey to Cleek, a disturbed lawyer. With his twisted ideals, Cleek decides to embark on a deranged project to capture and torture the woman in order to civilize her, a decision that will endanger his life and his family's, but will feed his inner killer. The film builds on the premise that there is a monster inside of all of us, even when we seem to have good intentions. Beyond the savagery of the woman, the lawyer's family is not far behind. Its dynamic of madness combined with dark humor results in a gore spectacle that's hard to digest, but you'll want to see to the end. Inside, 2007, directed by Julian Maury and Alexander Bastello. If you're a pregnant woman, you'd better skip this movie. Considered the 12th best horror film of the 2000s by Bloody Disgusting, Inside was released in 2007 and directed by the French duo of Julian Maury and Alexander Bastello. If you're pregnant, perhaps the worst nightmare you could have would be to be home alone and suddenly find yourself confronted by an unknown woman armed with scissors and a voracious intention to take your baby out prematurely. And that's just what happens to Alison Paradis in Inside. A film that contains some of the most graphic and intense scenes we've ever seen that will make anyone squirm, especially expectant mothers. And I don't think the baby inside is going to have a good time while its mother watches the film either. Jokes aside, Inside has an excellent handling of tension that will keep you on the edge of your seat almost every moment. A Serbian film, 2010, directed by Srđan Spesajevic. It was about time to talk about the elephant in the room, and better do it sooner rather than later because I don't have fond memories of this film. Created in Serbia, obviously, a Serbian film revolves around Milo, a retired porn star who lives with his family and is struggling financially. A meeting with a former shooting partner presents him with an opportunity to work with a guy named Vukmir in his new experimental porn film. Milo ends up accepting without knowing exactly what they're going to shoot and ends up immersed in a storm of depravity, violence, snuff, drugs, and total insanity. The synopsis definitely leaves nothing to the imagination, and it doesn't seem to have an artistic purpose either. I have a certain boundary with films of this style because I don't like them to go to the disturbing just for morbid pleasure. However, the case with a Serbian film is slightly different because beyond the fact that it breaks all possible taboos, it is a good film with an interesting plot, excellent performances, and a protagonist with whom you get attached, which makes the experience even more complicated. If you resist this movie, you will feel completely dirty by the end. You know what they say, curiosity killed the cat. Antiviral, 2012, directed by Brandon Cronenberg. To create a disturbing story, you don't always need explicit content. Sometimes, something subtle is enough, like a touch of Black Mirror's depressing future. As the son of director David Cronenberg, Brandon Cronenberg had quite a legacy behind him, but that gave him no trouble making his directorial debut in style. Antiviral is a sci-fi film that introduces us to Sid, an employee of a prestigious clinic dedicated to cloning celebrity diseases for their craziest fans to inject into their bodies. Sid ends up injecting himself to exploit the system, only to contract the same disease that killed the superstar Hannah Geist. In a race against death, Sid must dismantle the mystery behind the cloning before it's too late. Not long ago, we were all locked in our homes because of a worldwide pandemic. So a story where people get sick at will is frightening. It sounds too dystopian. Although, with the extreme fanaticism on social media, I wouldn't be too surprised if some people were capable of it. That's the real sickness of Antiviral. Irreversible, 2002, directed by Gaspar Noé. Again, France giving us nightmares. Directed by the acclaimed Gaspar Noé, Irreversible is a film that at first glance doesn't seem as disturbing as the others, but that's precisely what makes it so cruel. It is chillingly realistic, and we all know that such cases are still happening today. Irreversible presents us with the frantic wanderings of two friends, Marcus and Pierre, drunk on revenge through the most violent streets of the Parisian night. They are looking for the man responsible for the abuse and murder of Marcus's companion, the beautiful Alex, condemned by a bad twist of fate to die one night after an excruciating agony of almost 10 minutes. I don't know if disturbing movies are easier to watch when most of the actors are unknown because you can also feel that they're real people. However, that scene in Irreversible is very shocking. Not only because of how terrible it is, but to see an actress of Monica Bellucci's caliber in that situation. That also speaks to her commitment to her work. Plus, Vincent Cassel and Albert Dupontel were also phenomenal as the Avengers, but these aren't from Marvel. Martyrs, 2008, directed by Pascal Laugier. Since we're talking about revenge, let's go with Martyrs, a French film by Pascal Laugier that is as disturbing as it is realistic. Set in the 1970s and 1980s, the film revolves around Lucy, a young woman who seeks revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child. That path leads her to meet Anna, a girl who is abused by her family and does not intend to stand idly by. Just as we see the protagonists suffer, we also see them getting their revenge, only to suffer again. The film gives no respite, and despite Lucy and Anna's tragic past, fate doesn't prepare anything better for them either. It's a gradual accumulation of chaos that leads to an ending open to interpretation, something always welcome in this genre. I Saw the Devil, 2010, directed by Kim Ji-woon. Since the successful Parasite, Korean cinema has continued to gain strength internationally, but you may have missed one of its best gems. From the mind of Kim Ji-woon, I Saw the Devil is a cat and mouse game between serial killer Kyung-choo and law enforcer Soo-hyun. Kyung-choo's character is one of the most savage killers I've ever seen on film, with diabolical methods that are hard to imagine, let alone see. On his path of death, he ends up murdering the wife of Soo-hyun, who is willing to become a monster to get his revenge. Is this a thriller or a crime film? There is no simple answer. As spectators, we will be shaken by scenes of extreme violence and without contemplation, along with a narrative fluidity that drags us to that final climax, which shows us the cold, sadistic, and sweet way a good revenge should end. The Sadness, 2021, directed by Rob Jabaz. What better way to end this list than with a zombie movie? I know, it's an overused genre, but The Sadness will make you wish the zombies from The Walking Dead were real, even the ones from World War Z. This Taiwanese film starts like any other zombie film, with a society that still doesn't quite know what's going on until things get out of control. Only, instead of the brain-hungry undead, it's people like you and me who have stopped repressing their darkest desires. The Alvin virus is by far one of the creepiest viruses in cinema, since it unleashes the area of the brain responsible for regulating violence and sexual appetite. I think you can get an idea that those two things combined do nothing good. Beyond the violence, gore, and explicit scenes, The Sadness focuses on a young couple just looking to find each other amid chaos. It's beautiful because they try despite the circumstances, but it's also sad because they know they won't succeed. And so we come to the end of this list, which has ruined my appetite. But these films, through their grotesque context, have contributed a lot to the cinema industry. Be brave and go see them. I guarantee you're going to have a bad time. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Replay Media so you don't miss any of our videos. See you soon.